ABC exclusive with me, Abna Mante. Today, we come to you from the offices of Nkrumah and Associate. We speak with the ranking member on the Economy Committee and also Member of Parliament for the good people of Oppong, Kojo, Nkrumah. Hello, sir. Thank you.
Hi, Abna.
Thank you for having us here.
Last time I came to your studios.
Yes,
today you visited me.
We visited you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the good reception so far.
Thank you. Thank you.
The 24-hour economy is one thing that everybody has been looking forward to. Ahead of the 2024 elections, one thing the then opposition, the NDC, trumpeted was the 24-hour economy. One job, 3 shifts, 3 people. And so it was going to alleviate a lot of the Ghanaian, especially the youth, from poverty, such that it will take us from unemployment to employment. And if you're employed, you have some money in your pocket to make life very easy.
That is true.
For your side as a minority, you had been looking forward to a policy document laid before you. After a year, government has now laid a policy document before you, but you are unimpressed with it. Why all of the tossing? You wanted it, it hadn't come. It's now in. You tell them that it is hollow, it is shallow. Why?
Because that is the fact. The reason for which we've been asking government to deliver the policy document for about a year now is that the then opposition party advertised to the people of Ghana that this was their blueprint for turning around the Ghanaian economy.
Right.
And so when they came to power, you'd expect that it is one of the very early documents they will put together. Mm-hmm. Even as we kept asking, at the time they were bringing their first budget, it was not available. And that's why we famously said that they were building the first floor before the foundation, because you expected that that foundation would be available, and then they could then build their first budget on that. Be that as it may, somewhere during the year, they said the policy document was ready, and we asked them to bring it to Parliament so that Parliament could be seized with it, and we could do the job of oversight. I have constituents who are NDC, constituents who are not NDC, but who voted for this administration. And as a member of Parliament, I have a responsibility to ensure that what they voted for is delivered to them.
Okay.
So the policy document never came in. Around December, then we heard that the government had brought a bill. Now, in the construct of governance, first you want the policy document, because the bill will later be drawn out of the policy document. So you want the policy document, and then the bill can follow. They never brought the policy document, they brought the bill. Okay, so we went into the bill. And then we found out that what we had heard during the campaign, because you have to compare the bill to a policy document. In the absence of the policy document, what we heard during the campaign and the manifesto is what you then look at. And as we proceed, I'll show you that the key element of what they advertised to the Ghanaian youth in the campaign and in the manifesto document they put out is not in the 24-hour economy authority bill, which they brought. And just 4 days ago, they brought the policy document after the bill had been brought. And it's also not in the policy document. And those are the reasons for which we're saying that this is not what they promised the people of Ghana. And if this is what they are going to be focusing on, they will not deliver a 24-hour economy to anybody.
Let me take you back to Nana Addo era, free SHS. A very strong campaign point. A lot of Ghanaians found reason in it, saw the light in it, and decided that we would give the chance to Nana Addo Akufo-Addo and the government he would constitute, and so they voted massively for him. When Nana Addo came in the first year, he started the free SHS.
September.
Yes. For those who were not really enthused about the way it was run, complained that there was no solid policy document that backed free SHS. However, within 8 years, you run free SHS.
Yes.
Regardless of the challenges you faced, you seem to have surmounted it to some extent and still run it. And so, wouldn't you say that you'd give same grace or extend same grace to the NDC government, where even if it did not contain everything that they talked about, you can see some merit in it and at least give them a year, implement it, and then maybe come back and see if some modifications could be done to it?
If what they brought had any semblance of what they had promised, you could grant this grace.
Okay.
But I'm telling you in all humility that what they brought, and I'll share with you a copy of the bill, what they brought, which Parliament has now passed, did not correlate in any way with what they promised. What they promised was that there was going to be a 24-hour working cycle.
Right.
And they went further to define it as 133. Then they went further to list a number of state institutions that they said were going to work for 24 hours, so that for you, the unemployed Ghanaian at home, one job, 3 people could do it over 3 shifts. What they brought to Parliament had nothing to do with that. What they brought to Parliament is what they call a 24-hour economy authority. It's an institution that they are setting up. That institution, even if you go through the purposes of the institution under Section 3 of what is now, may I say, the Act, once the President assents to it, is the Act, it doesn't even talk about ensuring that public offices work for 24 hours. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It rather talks about promoting exports, promoting small-scale business, promoting micro and medium-scale enterprise. These are things that the Ghana Enterprises Agency and then the Ghana Export Promotion Agency are doing already.
Okay.
The closest you find, and as I mentioned on the floor of Parliament, and nobody challenged it, the closest you find was in subclause K. That talked about the fact that if they needed to do some incentives for businesses that are working for 24 hours, then they could come up with those incentives.
You mentioned earlier.
So okay, as a first point, what they promised about a 24-hour working cycle is not in the bill. Secondly, the shift system, which they advertised and many young people believed, you rattle it, I rattle it, everybody rattles it, 133. That is missing. When we raised it, Isaac Adongo, chair of the Finance Committee, told us that we don't need to be tied to 133. It could be 122. And we're saying no problem. If it's 144, 155, 133, put it in the bill.
Okay.
It's not in the bill. Number 3 is the fact that the state agencies which they advertised to people they were going to make them work for 24 hours is not in the bill. And in fact, for that, we drafted an amendment that the authority shall ensure that the following state agencies will work for 24 hours. So I'll give you that video. Our amendment was moved by the Honorable Boama of Efia constituency. And they flat out rejected it, that no, they don't want it in the bill, saying that it was too limiting. For us, that's a lousy excuse. But the bottom line is that the things they promised are nowhere in the bill. What they've done is that they've created an authority, chief executive, board directors, director of finance, a few other things, internal auditor. They're all going to get paid. They'll buy cars. They will spend the budget. But that promise they gave to the young people out there that they will make the economy work for 24 hours, in particular, public entities will work for 24 hours. Zilch is not in the bill.
And that is where the bone of contention comes to play. Well, you mentioned that they had started building the first floor without
the foundation.
How about err on the side that this bill that contains what you say is very limiting could be the foundation for now, and then they build on it? Government had said that 4 years is the mandate we've given them, and so we should give them time. So one could also assume that the pressure minority is mounting on government is why they may have put together the bill, however hasty the minority thinks it's been, or however light it could be. And so how about we give them time? Because in any case, if they started working, the authority started working and was working to the best of its strength, it could still support industry to be able to work the 133, and we will see the merit of it.
First of all, I work on behalf of the people who voted for the 24-hour economy, many of whom are still sitting at home. Millions of them are still sitting at home, hoping that this government will fulfill its promise so that they can get employed. It's already been about 13 months. A lot of the big shots in the NDC have already gotten their appointments, are in their offices, enjoying their air condition and their fuel and their V8s. And these people who believed this promise have not gotten what they were promised. For them, this argument that it's still early days yet, it doesn't wash. When I go to my constituency and I sit in my office for Monday MP surgeries and people come, both MPP and NDC come, they tell me that 1 year, so in their interest, we have to ensure that the government delivers on its promise. Secondly, government should not be excused for saying that it is because of the pressure from Kojo Oppong Nkrumah or pressure from the minority that they have rushed into bringing a bill that is not ready. That would be a very appalling excuse. They have argued that while they were campaigning, they knew what they were talking about, and they had the architecture and the framework already. They don't get 1 year down the line to fail to bring the details in a bill and only say that it's because Kojo Oppong is giving us pressure. That's why we've brought this one. That is not there. Thirdly, I'm not the one who said that this is the foundation. When we talked about the first floor and the foundation, we talked about the fact that they had constructed the 2025 budget when they hadn't constructed the foundation policy document on which the budget should be built. It is now that after the fact, 2 budgets down the line, 2 out of their 4 budgets, 50% down the line, they are now trying to put in place the architecture. And we are respectfully submitting to them that this architecture deviates totally from what they promised.
But you think government overpromised? The government overextended itself during its campaign?
I don't think so. I honestly believe that what they did was that they hoodwinked the young people of this country. They knew very well that they are not going to be able to deliver a 24-hour economy. But what they did was that they knew also the data said unemployment was the biggest problem. So they dangled something before the young people of this country that, listen, if you vote for us, we're going to create a 24-hour economy and all of you who are unemployed will have an opportunity to get jobs. They knew very well that it was not something that they had prepared to deliver. A 24-hour economy is feasible. But the rubrics for building it have nothing to do with what they were even conceptualizing or today are trying to implement. But this is not the only thing that they have actually deceived people on. For example, they looked cocoa farmers in the eye. When we in power moved cocoa prices from about 400 Ghana cedis a bag to 3,100 cedis a bag, they looked cocoa farmers in the eye and told them that we had robbed them, and that if they were in power, they would pay 6,500 to 700. And today, when they came to power, even the 3,600 that they delivered, which is a first exercise of deceit, they never got to the 6,650. Even that 3,600, they cannot pay it.
Well, we'll come to cocoa farmers.
So there are many examples I can give you of instances where they've just
cocoa
deceived
farmers
the
are
people
part
of
of our conversation to be had today. But quickly on the 24-hour economy, you stated that it is possible, but our current economic landscape, our current economic climate, does it invite a 24-hour economy to be run?
Currently, because of how the government has particularly approached monetary policy, my answer is no. You see, for a 24-hour economy to function, the first pillar that you need is demand. Today, I was telling one of your colleague journalists who also has a cold store as a private business that, I could see if your cold store, as at 11 p.m., there are people lined up with money looking to buy fish and chicken and other things. Will you shut down the cold store? Will you close for the night? That the day is over, so we've closed. He said, of course not. And I'm saying to you that the first thing you need for a 24-hour economy to function is demand. When you've been able to stimulate so much demand, the producer will respond naturally to the demand regardless of the hours. So we asked the government when they came to parliament, that 6 big cities that run 24-hour economies, which one of them had to form an authority to set it up? None of them. What they had to do was to focus on ensuring that there was money in the system, people were earning incomes, and that there was demand. And once demand was present, supply was following. So our argument is that you can achieve a 24-hour and night economy in some specific areas if you ensure that demand is dominant. The problem is that this government has sterilized about 60 billion Ghana cedis from the economy. Whenever we say it, they want to sometimes obfuscate or hide it. Quite recently, one of them was challenging us to prove. Take them to page 284 of the 2026 budget. It's there in black and white. The Bank of Ghana has reported that they have mopped up about 60 billion cedis from the economy because they consider that to be excess liquidity. So when you go around, you hear people saying that there's no money in town, there's no money in town. So people will have goods on the shelf, but the purchasing power is not available. Now, when you sterilize this extensively, this is the first time in so long that we've sterilized this extensively. Sterilization is part of the toolkit of the government. But what it does is that it artificially brings down inflation. The cost of products or the cost of production won't go down, but when you sterilize the money out of the equation and people don't have money, even the seller says, I do return in terms of meboka until
So
reduce it and then get rid of it. Then the government can measure and say inflation has come down. But what they've actually done is that they've sterilized about 60 billion out of the economy. Now, when you sterilize 60 billion and there's no money for demand, how are you going to generate that demand that then perpetuates a 24-hour economy? So, under the current circumstances, with what they are doing, you will struggle to operate a 24-hour economy. In fact, I think it was Gehok that announced that they were going to do 24-hour economy. Nobody challenged them. No local authority said they should stop. They themselves later announced a few months down the line that they've stopped. Why? Because there is no demand for what they are producing.
And so we are running a very artificial system. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that the current program they are running, which is heavy sterilization, so that the inflation numbers will look good, the cost of that is that there's no liquidity to generate the demand. And if you don't have the demand, you won't have the 24-hour economy. But
don't you think that if indeed that is the system they are running, it's also good for public perception? Because for a while, people were complaining, people were bemoaning the kind of economy that they were going through as a people. People could not afford to buy fuel as much as they would have wanted to and all. And so if in a short while, government is able to massage things in its favor and ensure that the people feel comfortable, however massaged it is, it's also good for public perception. It gives you a certain sense of feeling that, things are down. If I'm walking or I'm in a car and I see that the fuel stations have reduced their prices, however short it is,
you feel good.
Yes, you feel good. Your blood pressure is down.
Abena, we don't pay our kids' school fees with our feelings. We don't put food on the dining table with perception.
But
it takes real money. And when you run an economy in a way that, in your own words, is giving people a perception and a feeling, but the reality in their pockets does not give them the income to be able to meet their daily needs, that perception may last for a while. But after a while, the people will start asking you questions. I'm beginning to see people asking questions. And I'm sorry, I'm going back to it. We'll talk about it later. I was in my cocoa farms yesterday, and farmers are telling us that for 3 months, the cocoa that they have slaved for sometimes years to produce, which has been taken by the LBCs and Cocoa Board, they are not paying for them. They can't pay their kids' fees. They can't pay for their medication. They can't pay for basic needs in life. We went to another rice mill where hundreds of bags of rice, I have the videos, I can give you, hundreds of bags of rice stuck there. And people can't move them because there's no liquidity for people to buy because of the sterilization the government has been doing. And somebody in our team retorted as a joke that, oh, but the dollar is down. You should have seen what the farmers wanted to do to them. So this perception, we don't take it to the market.
It's just for a while.
The people will ask you questions at a point in time. I do admit that from 2021 to about 2023, the cost of living crisis bit us very hard. But that was not necessarily through a government's mismanagement. It was the NDC that tried to create the impression in people's minds that it was mismanagement and corruption that had led to that. We kept insisting that we had problems. Remember, from 2017 to 2020, we didn't have this problem. Inflation was down to 7.8, 7.1, not artificially, but because, among other things, we had reduced electricity prices. Electricity prices had been reduced by 22% in 2018 and 11% in 2019. The net effect, by the time we were done with those 2 years, was about 10-11% reduction in electricity prices. So the cost of input to producers had come down. And so you had inflation coming down 7.8 and 7.1. We could not sustain it thoroughly because by the time we hit 2020 and we're hit with all of the challenges, part of our response measures also triggered inflation. Went high up to 54, and then we started tight monetary policy to bring it down. These colleagues of ours created an impression that we had just either been incompetent or malicious. And people believed them and gave them power. And now look at what is
going on. But it also
on.
still ties into my question about perception.
Yes.
Because at that time, had you explained things better to the Ghanaian people, do you not think that the Ghanaian would be more understanding, more receptive to the challenges government was going through? Because it's the same government that used to come into our homes on Sundays,
yes.
come to talk to us,
yes.
told us, bared its heart out to us, got us to really feel the human nature of the government.
And to be carried along.
Yes, and everybody wants to be carried along when it comes to governance
that is true.
in the country. And
that
so
is true.
If at some point you rest on your oars, at some point you feel the Ghanaian people should understand us, and so we are good.
I don't think so. I think if you recall, the government of the day did a lot of explanation to try and carry the people along. But the colleagues on the other side created a certain bandwagon effect. Even when you raise the fact that, listen, there's a global crisis ongoing. Fuel prices have gone up at the pumps in Ghana. You mentioned fuel. Mm-hmm. Not because the government is wicked and has increased fuel, but because there is a war in the Black Sea area between Russia and Ukraine, and it is translating into higher crude prices, and that crude price is what is affecting the market. Even the candidates of the opposition will make a joke that, but the bombs in Russia and Ukraine, are they getting to Ghana? Why are you people saying it's your own incompetence? And they made a lot of jokes about it. When you say it, people were even going to beat you up. But that was the fact. So it is not for want of communicating or want of trying. But they built this siege mentality in the minds of people that the government of the day had just been wicked or incompetent. No problem. Politics has its ups and downs. And so the people believed them and voted them out. And you said that when you win power, you introduce a 24-hour economy to create the jobs for them.
So that's when we come back.
Now look at what you have brought.
We come back to 24-hour economy bill and why you need that the companies, the agencies that will run it be included in the bill. If they are not included in it, the authority is set up and the authority backs their work. Do we not still get to the destination?
Why are we passing a law in the first place if we don't want to legislate about that? Then you might as well have Mr. Guzitano in his office give those instructions. Why do we now need to create an authority? So for Mr. Guzitano and his colleagues, we are mindful to create a law for them. But for the real beneficiaries, we don't want to include them in the law.
There are those who believe that.
For me, that's counterintuitive.
There are those who believe that there shouldn't be the establishment of an authority.
I think so.
You also hold that belief that if government really wants to run a 24-hour economy with the secretariat at the presidency, it can run it and run it
absolutely
excellently.
I share that view. But they have decided, and we are of the view that this is a deliberate exercise again to hoodwink the Ghanaian people. So if you listen to the narrative they tried to put out, they said the 24-hour economy law has been passed. So the guy sitting somewhere in Nkrumah who hears this, okay, then finally the thing is coming. If we hadn't gone into the details to read clause 1 to clause 28 and tell them in parliament right before the entire country that the agencies are not in it, your 133 is not in it, even the 24-hour work cycle is not in it, that young man in Nkrumah will still be singing that 24-hour economy law has been passed. But it's not true. It's not in the law. And that is why we have to do the advocacy we are doing. That is why we also have to do the amendments. So we did the amendments that include it, because we are fighting for that young person who voted for 24-hour economy and actually believes that this law is going to make it happen. And when we found out it's not there, that's why we tried to put it in. And they rejected it on the floor.
They do not want the amendment.
They said, no, they don't want it. I'll share with you the video.
Okay.
And you can play it to your viewers.
Oh, we'll take a break. When we return, let's look at what is there for the Ghanaian beyond this bill that has now been passed and see how better we could get with regards to unemployment in the country. Oh, stay with us. We'll be back for more conversation with Honorable Kojo Nkrumah.
Rent back with the beer open. Come on, come see you. Where this guy? My friend, see the phone.
It's the Telecel Too Much Money promo. Win cash daily, weekly, and a grand prize of 1.2 million Ghana cedis. Just reload or buy a bundle with Telecel Cash to earn points and stand a chance to win big. Dial *500# or visit the Telecel Play app to opt in and start winning in the Telecel Too Much Money promo. Terms and conditions apply. This promo is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform.
Emacho, sister no man ko. When is campaign? Sister no man ko. If you're a baby a many schedule no. If you know, meto aka. Inti enne, wo no ba no mo pe baby a mo beda. Oh no abeka. You did too much money. No matter.
Telecel, connecting energies.
This is still ABC exclusive with me, Abna Mante. Conversation with Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, Member of Parliament for Oppong CIWB. We're looking at the 24 Economy Bill, amongst other things. Honorable Nkrumah, you guys have been, let me use a very calm word. You guys have been hard on your colleagues from the other side. During the debate, yourself, Honorable Abujinapo and Honorable Stephen Amwa, you went hard at the majority on this bill. The ranking member again talks about the fact that it does not necessarily have to go the way they've talked about it. In any case, if you present something and you sit back and you think through it and you feel that we could tweak it a little bit, it's only a fool that doesn't change his mind.
It will be very disappointing if they want to now hold on to the argument that it doesn't have to go the way they promised us. When you make a promise for an election and people go to the ballot box and vote for it, what has happened is that in political science, they'll tell you a social contract has been signed.
Right.
You are bound by the offer you made and the acceptance that the people also came up with. At least even if you want to tweak it, let there be the core substance of what you promised. And then you may want to tweak or add one or two things. I'm saying to you in all humility that the 4 cardinal things that they had promised are not in the bill. The bill has nothing to do with work for 24 hours. I said it on the floor of Parliament. I read the clauses to the majority on the floor of Parliament. If what I was saying was not true, why didn't anybody from that side get up and say that, Oppong, what you are saying is not true, look at clause 14 or clause 15? It's because what we are saying is the truth. And we went to the extent of proposing those amendments to insert them there. So it's not like we're being hard on them. If I were talking about being hard or harsh, when they were in opposition, my God, I don't know if you have forgotten. There were times when they would get into fisticuffs with us in the chamber. The former Minister for Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, there was a day, I think the day that the e-levy was being passed, where somebody cut him with a blade in the chamber. Ask him.
How do you come into the chamber with a blade?
It was after that, therefore, that Mr. Speaker now said they should mount the metal detectors.
That was the reason for it?
Yes. Ask him. Call him. Ask him. So if we're talking about those who've been hard, we haven't been hard. We have only picked up the document that they brought us. And we have perused it from clause 1 to 28. And we are drawing their attention that before this thing passes, introduce the right clauses. Because what you told the young people, which they believed you, is not here. And you are deliberately keeping it out because you don't intend to follow that promise. You know, even for those who had been recruited, apart from the thousands that they have sacked from the public services, those who have even been working for about 11 months, they haven't paid them. This morning, one of the midwives called into a program or sent a message into a program at Adum TV where I was, that she's worked for 11 months. She hasn't been paid. You know why? It's because they are not able to mobilize the revenue to meet those expenditure obligations. You see, in governance, one of the first things is that after you've made the promise, you must mobilize the revenue to be able to fulfill it. If you would recall, in 2025, we kept drawing the attention of the government that they have played politics with the revenue handles, and so they are losing revenue. Revenue was 16% of GDP when we were leaving power. What that means is that total productivity in the country, 16% of it goes to government. They bastardized our government that we were just wicked and mean, and that's why we're taking too much tax from the people. And so they were going to remove some of those tax handles. In fact, they even exaggerated what they removed and added about 8 more taxes at the end. The last time we checked, revenue had dropped from 16% to 11%. What that meant was that they were losing 5% of GDP. GDP today is 1 trillion. That's 50 billion. When you lose 50 billion because you've played politics with fiscal policy, the woman who has worked for 11 months, you won't get money to pay her. And when you observe that you're not getting money to pay her, now when somebody says, the promise you made that the same job, people will do it 3 times, that means you are going to triple the size of some of the agencies. They know they will not be able to pay. That's why they don't want it in the bill. Because if they go ahead today to say, DVLA work 24 hours, passport office work 24 hours, this one work 24 hours, that is tripling the size of the workforce.
But people
in
will
accordance,
go there.
So then why don't they do it? They know that there's no demand that will come for the other 2 people who are coming to work. Because if there's no liquidity in the economy and people cannot afford those public services, even if you operate 24 hours, nobody will come by, and then you have to pay the other 2 people. So they know this.
So now your amendments were not accepted by your colleagues from the
Unfortunately,
other side.
yeah.
The bill has been passed.
Yes.
We await President Mahama
Yes.
assent into it. So obviously it will be implemented.
I
How do you
believe so.
foresee?
I believe that the president will assent to it, and then they will claim that they are promoting exports, and they are promoting small-scale business, and they are promoting micro and small-scale enterprise. That is what the bill says they should do.
So that's how you see the implementation?
No, that is what the bill that they have passed says they should do. So that's what they will claim they are doing, and be telling people that they are promoting exports. In fact, if you read the full thing, it's 24-hour economy and accelerated development authority. So they will tell you that they are promoting accelerated development, which GEPA is doing already. They are promoting micro and small-scale enterprises, which Ghana Enterprises Agency is doing already. They are promoting small-scale business, which the old MBSSI, which is now GEA, is doing. So they will tell you that they are working. But in the end, let us watch and see
Do they
whether these public entities start working 24 hours, even significantly, and whether you now start having private entities working 24
Do they
hours.
say who or what agency, what ministry the 24-hour economy will be working under?
Under the presidency.
Which
is where the secretariat is already now. Guzitano's secretariat reports to the presidency.
Because you talk about GEPA,
Yeah.
GA, and the rest, and we see that directly under trade.
Yes.
And so, when you say who is the reporting minister,
Yeah.
who is the reporting authority?
Well, so the president could have designated one minister and assigned him that responsibility. He created a secretariat at the presidency, Mr. Guzitando, a man I very much admire and respect. He's the one who is in charge. And after working for 1 year, they are now converting it into an authority, still staying at the office of the presidency. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing how it all plays out, how it all.
I hope they prove me
pans out.
wrong at the end of the day.
Well, how would you feel if they prove you wrong?
I'll be happy for the people who voted for it, that my advocacy at drawing their attention that where they are going will not lead the results. They proved it wrong and delivered for the people. That's my job as member of parliament. Okay. But how they are going, I don't see that happening.
So if you get, and let me come to your constituency then, you get somebody who is opposing you in your constituency, says, oh, the man who you say has been speaking for you, at the end of the day, he was proved wrong, and so, you know what, let's do away with him.
Oh, when he comes to do that, we'll have a response for him. There's a guy called James. He's a very strong NDC person. He doesn't hide it. He comes to my office very often. He voted for the NDC, particularly because of the 24-hour economy. He's one of the people for which reason I keep fighting that this thing should be done. So that people like him, who in the end, the composite vote made me their MP, what they voted for will come to pass. If my advocacy ensures that they're able to do it at the end of the day, I'm very happy, and I'll show the kind of work I've done for it.
Yeah. Let's take a look at cocoa. You have cocoa farmers in your constituency. Your colleague Akwesi Akwa in Oda, also in the Eastern region, has put together a program to help cocoa farmers in his constituency, because he says the kind of calls he's getting, the visits he's getting, is just overwhelming. And we can think that it's replicated across other cocoa areas. Farmers say that at this point, actually, the price they're receiving from Ghana is actually better than what our neighbors are receiving. And so when it comes to pricing, it looks like it's good. The only problem is that they've sold cocoa, the monies are not coming. They have beans, dried beans, bagged beans, but there's nobody to pay. Between 2024 and now, is it that when you were leaving government as a government, you mismanaged the cocoa sector? That is why we are seeing what we are seeing.
So first of all, the farmers I'm dealing with, this is not what they are telling me.
Okay.
They are telling me that the promise that was made to them that they were going to get 6,500 to 7,000 cedis per bag.
That's what they want.
That is what they were promised. A lot of the cocoa farmers who voted for the NDC because the Honorable Kesela Toforson, the Honorable current Minister for Agriculture, Eric Opoku, then an NDC candidate, the President of the Republic now, made representations to them that cocoa pricing was going to go between 6,500 and 7,000. These are matters of public record. So you will find Ato at Dadia Swaba in the videos telling the public that, listen, the MPP government had not been good enough to them and that they were going to pay them higher than that. Eric Opoku saying same. You'll find that then candidate Mahama, now President Mahama, saying that cocoa pricing was going to go so well. So people who don't even have cocoa farms should start getting into cocoa farms. This is the promise they made to the people. And many believe them. Do you know how many cocoa farmers there are in Ghana? About 1 million people are in cocoa farming. 1 million. They believed it and they voted for it. The government or then party said that we, the MPP, who had moved cocoa pricing from about 400 cedis to 3,100, calculate the change. We were terrible. We were bad. We had criminally mismanaged the economy. And that they were going to move it to 6,500. When they came, the announcement they made now culminates in 3,600. And so the first point is that the cocoa farmers feel shortchanged. They feel deceived. I go to the cocoa farms. They tell me. Yesterday, I was in my farming area with the cocoa farmers in Nkrumah. And they came out of their farms telling us that, first of all, we've been deceived. Secondly, even this 3,600, they are not paying. From November last year till now, they are not paying. People have stocked up their cocoa farms. LBCs have taken the beans, and they are not paying. And cocoa farmers, if you don't pay them for 4 months, that's like 6 months' salary that somebody working in the public service has not received. They have to buy food. They have to buy medicine. They have to feed their children. They have to pay their children's school fees. And all of this is because of the poor management decisions made by the managers of the cocoa industry. We had an old structure where you sell about 70% of the beans on future pricing, so forward sales.
Right.
And then 30% is on spot pricing. They claim that we were incompetent and that it should be the other way around. And that if you rather sell about 70% on spot prices and 30% on futures, you will get better prices in that year on spot prices. We argued and argued and argued, but because they had told people that they can pay 6,500, people believed them. No problem. When they came to power, now they've reversed the structure. So about 70% of the cocoa is being sold on spot prices. What they forgot was that cocoa pricing undulates. So now if in the particular, let's say spot year, the pricing is a bit lower than the price you have announced for the season, you will start making losses. That's where their problem is. So now, the LBCs have bought, from what we hear, about 10 billion worth of cocoa and have made it available to Cocoa Board. Cocoa Board has to sell it or arrange financing for it and pay the LBCs. So that the new stock that the cocoa farmers have given to the LBCs can pay for it. Cocoa Board is not able to do that. And they are going around doing press conferences and explaining that the pricing has gone down. But the pricing has gone down. Why are you in the office? Are you not paid to think through solutions for it? Well, this is the group. This is the group that said that we were so terrible, having moved the price from when we came to power in 2017. I recall 2017, 2018, one of those cabinet meetings where I had the privilege of attending with my boss at the time. Cocoa prices had dropped on the world market. And if you compare the price to the price that we're paying on the Ghanaian market, Ghana was going to make losses. And the discussion came up. I'm sure I won't be in breach of my cabinet oath. The one who made the advocacy was Yao Safo Mafu. Traced the history of cocoa contribution to the Ghanaian economy, the impact on cocoa farmers, etc., and made a case to cabinet to recommend to the president that despite the fact that the prices had dropped, we should be able to still pay, government should bear the difference, and still able to announce a moderate increase in the next cocoa window. So government had to bear that cost. Our friends in opposition were telling us that it was reckless borrowing, reckless spending, fiscal indiscipline, and that they were going to do a better job. You see where they are today?
The problem with our cocoa farmers is looks like we have kept them within the poverty margin. Yeah, we know how much cocoa gives us as a country, but anytime we talk to cocoa farmers, we know that cocoa farmers already present themselves as very lowly. But it looks like we are not also doing our best for our cocoa farmers as a people. How many cocoa farmers' children enjoy cocoa board scholarships? How many children within the cocoa area enjoy all of the good things that those in the public sector are enjoying? And so wouldn't they be right to expect that we give them a very conducive environment, elevate their position as they are, even the lowliest of cocoa farmers, so that when we hit snacks such as these, the cocoa farmer is not the one that is fully hit. In all of this conversation, they are the ones that have been hit the most.
Sadly.
3 months, 4 months of no payment.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you would be able to take care of your kid if you were not receiving your payment. And so it's not a time we looked at revising the way we treat our cocoa farmers.
It started. When we came to power, cocoa bean bag was selling for 400 and something cedis a bag. We moved it to 3,100. That was the first step. The second step was that we said we need a strong industrialization agenda so that we don't have to even be worrying about who is buying from France or Switzerland or wherever, where we can buy and process a lot of our cocoa here in Ghana. Because it is when we add value to the raw beans that a lot more of the value stays here. So we started a big industrialization program by offering incentives to private sector to get into agro-processing of all sort of things under a 1D1F program. Remember, by the time we left power, the NDPC has reported that we had about 150 functioning factories. So we started an industrialization drive. If you read our 2024 manifesto, we were even going to a third level, which was to ensure that the welfare of cocoa farmers was taken up. We're talking about ensuring that scholarships to children of cocoa farmers was upheld, and even, I think it was a pension for cocoa farmers.
Right.
So we had laid down the groundwork in the value chain to give the cocoa farmer better value and the country better value. Our friends in the NDC told a lie to the public that even the 3,100 we had done wasn't good enough, and that they would pay 6,500 or 700. Which cocoa farmer will not believe that? That was the peak of the intellectual and policy dishonesty. Told the public they will pay them 6,500 to 7,000. When you do that, out of your dishonesty, you sway the market to you. Now the cocoa farmers have voted for you. Pay them the 6,500. You pay 3,600. Okay, bring the 3,600. You are not paying.
Well,
so we haven't even reached that level where we say that, is it not time to shift? No, they have to fulfill the first promise they have made. Before we can now get to the second conversation of, is it not time to shift? Unfortunately, the industrialization program that we brought, when they came, they've cancelled it. The 1D1F program, you know that they've cancelled it. It was one of the first things that Madam Ejari announced. They've cancelled it. Where are you going to get the agro processing? Or you are waiting for Barry Calibo and the foreign companies to come and set up more factories for you? If we don't help ourselves, nobody will help us. So the industrialization program we put in place, which had started, and which was going to get to a point where you now get more cocoa processing, you've cancelled it gladly, proudly. And you say you are bringing 24-hour economy as its replacement. And by the way, you see where the 24-hour economy is going. So that component itself is gone. Now, with what you have done, there's going to be a lagged effect. In the next 3, 4, 5 years, a lot of people are going to be thinking twice about going to cocoa farming.
and that's what we do
After
not
the
want.
stories they have heard this year.
That's what we do not want as a country, that you start thinking.
Now, who caused them?
Well, politicians.
No, there's a particular politician. It's the NDC. They are the ones who have reversed all the progress. So don't paint us with the same brush. We moved from 4,000 to 3,600. And we're adding layers. They promise 6,500 and they can't even pay 3,600.
But
So it's not politicians,
there's
it's the
a
NDC.
certain accumulation of a debt overhang. Some 32.91 billion Ghana cedis. Where did it start from?
The cocoa industry, because of how it's financed, is mostly financed on debt. So at the beginning of the cocoa season, let us assume that you estimate to buy, this is just an assumption, $5 billion worth of cocoa. You have 3 choices. Either the government will take $5 billion taxpayers' money to go and buy cocoa and go and sell and make a margin on it, or the government will tell the potential buyers that bring your $5 billion and they will buy the cocoa for you through cocoa board, or the government will go for what we call a syndicated loan. They will get the banks to syndicate and mobilize 5 billion on cocoa board's books to buy the cocoa. Cocoa board will sell, they will make a margin. Hopefully government will get something out of it. Sometimes when you take the syndicated loan, you don't get 5 billion worth of cocoa to buy. You may get 4 billion. So you have an outstanding, let's say 1 billion, and that's what they call the forward contract. So then the rollover contract. So then you roll over that 1 billion into the next year, but you've taken the 5 billion facility up front.
Right. And
they may use some for cocoa roads and other things to make it easier to bring the cocoa from the cocoa growing areas. So it is an accumulation of some of these things over the years that has led to the debts at cocoa board. But you see, cocoa board is not just about debts. Anytime you take a balance sheet, there's an asset side and there's a liability side. For those of them who are very busy talking about the debts of cocoa board, two things. One is that they should also talk about the assets. I've never heard them talk about it. And then secondly, if you claim you found debts on the books of cocoa board, no problem. What is your plan for turning it around? You argued that somebody hadn't managed the war. The one who hadn't managed the war, who was paying 3-6, and cocoa farmers were not going through this. You say it's criminally mismanaged it. Now you've taken it. Where's your superior plan? To pay for it and then pay your 6,000. Either way, nobody should allow this government to be excused. Today, I'm told they are calling an emergency cabinet meeting. I don't know whether it's today or tomorrow to discuss how to pay cocoa farmers. I don't recall the last time we called an emergency cabinet meeting. The last time I heard about it, it was a regular cabinet meeting. Our great minister presented a memo. It came up. It was discussed. A decision was made. Finance minister gave instruction. We're paying. Now we've reached that point that in the reset, we have to call emergency cabinet meeting to discuss how to pay cocoa farmers.
Cocoa farmers say that the centralized system we are running as a country is also, to some extent, the bane of the cocoa sector. And so we should look at expanding it, especially for the cooperative unions that the cocoa farmers have. They, in a very recent conversation with one of the presidents of the cooperative unions, he talks about the fact that the Barry Calibo and all of the other big institutions, they interface with them face to face. And so they know some of the contracts that our government has with some of the huge companies outside there. And so nobody should think that they are helpless when it comes to understanding what is happening in the market. And so government should open it up so that we run a system similar to what is run elsewhere in Cote d'Ivoire. Because at this point, where Cote d'Ivoire given a very good price, there was going to be the high probability that they would sell to middlemen who would in turn smuggle cocoa out of our borders. And so we should invite them into the market, give them the space to also run so that we do not hit some of these challenges or snags.
The whole idea of the cocoa marketing board at the time, which has now become cocoa board, the idea mooted by people like J.B. Dankwa and the rest, was to ensure that there was an incentive for people to grow cocoa in the first place, because there was a ready market for you. You'll get help, you'll get support, agric extension, fertilizers, inputs, to grow an industry. So the farmer will get support to grow. And when he gets the support to grow, there's also a ready market that will buy it off him. And then now worry about the export and the dealing with the Barry Caliboats and all of those big ones on the sell side of things. There are times when that system fails, then people start saying, why do we even have the system? I might as well want to bypass the system and deal directly with some of these people, or have a liberalized system like some of the other countries operate. But that is because the system has failed. If the system is being run as was intended, and you are not having poor decisions like this switch from 70-30 forward and spot to 30-70 forward and spot, and cocoa farmers are getting paid and they are getting their resources and logistics on time, they won't be making this argument. So I think what we need to do is to go back to getting the system to work efficiently.
Anytime anybody wants to talk about a failed system, we make reference to cocoa board. Very unfortunate that it's made. Even conversations about gold board, you find policy experts and other relevant stakeholders say that you want gold board to succeed, make sure it's not running the cocoa board.
I remember saying something like that when the gold board bill was brought in Parliament, because gold board, and sorry, let me just digress. PMMC was a limited liability company. Then they reversed it to make it a public corporation like cocoa board. And so when we raised that argument, the point we're making was that the risks that bedevil cocoa board are the same risks that you are introducing into the gold board module. And if you didn't fine-tune it, you will make losses. It didn't take us 2 years.
And so in fine-tuning cocoa board, what are the sustainable measures we should be looking at? Because I believe I speak for all Ghanaians when we say that we need cocoa board to work.
I agree.
We need our cocoa farmers to stay in the business because they are enticed. Galamsey is staring them in the face. They're not getting young people to work on their farms. And so the farm hands continue to reduce as it goes on. Normally, people after SHS, after university.
But even the little they are producing, you can't pay for it. If they produce more, how are you going to pay for it?
But
so the problem is not on the farming side. The problem is on the management and decision making at Cocoa Board. That's one of the things they've done since they came to power is that a lot of the people in the trading room who understand the value chain, they've cleared them out for political reasons. You MPP, so move. And they've brought in people who don't have a very deep understanding of the cocoa value chain. Let's be blunt. There are directors in Cocoa Board who have been there for so many years who understand the nature of the job. They've moved them because of politics. One of the things you need is deep institutional knowledge at places like this. People who've done it for the last 5, 10, 15 years and have seen the various ups and downs and know the tricks in the trade. You need deep institutional knowledge. You also need to depoliticize it and make it a very technically strong institution. One of the places that I have admired a lot over the years is the Bank of Ghana, a very technically strong institution. It's only maybe in recent times that it appears they are getting a bit political when one administration comes and then they say they've sacked all people who were appointed in the last 1 year. I mean, you are obviously creating a wrong impression. Then when they realize that no, they've gone too far, they say, okay, come back. Then they start recruiting again. You need these institutions to be technically savvy. That's one of the problems you are having at Cocoa Board. If you take out the politicization, let the professionals who've been in the trading rooms and who've handled this thing for decades handle it, they have clarity on how to go about it. But if you continue with this cycle of politicization, the decisions then get fettered with politics. And you end up with a scenario like this.
You are in the people's house. You represent the people. People talk to you. What should we expect? We know that the Agric Minister is in the house with you. All of the stress going on. Everybody wants to hear from him. Should we look forward that the minority would request that the Agric Minister speak to Parliament?
Yes. Today, as we're going to Parliament at 2 o'clock, and I don't know by the time you hear this program if that is passed, it's one of the things I will be requesting, that the Agric Minister has to come and brief the House on what is going on in the cocoa industry. We haven't even come to rice. Rice is another big problem, where rice farmers are in debt, are running from their homes because they've borrowed money, they've invested in rice farming, they've harvested, they've milled, and there's an influx of imported rice on the market, and so they are not getting off-takers. And by the way, you know why that influx is happening? Is because the country is subsidizing importation. When you run a monetary policy framework where you heavily intermediate, you peg the currency at 10, you don't want the right value to operate, and you peg it at 10, and you heavily intermediate like this, you make importation cheaper. When we say it, you can say, Papa, you people left dollar at this and insult us. It will show up with the rice farmers. So today, if you talk to the rice farmers, let your cameramen go out. I've been to the villages. They will tell you that the reason for which the rice is not being bought is that there's so much cheap imported rice on the market that people don't want to buy.
You seem to be absolving the NPP government from all of the challenges that the cocoa industry, the agric industry to a certain extent is going through. And so when we look at all of these debts and all, who then do we place the blame at their doorstep?
If you're looking for somebody to blame for the Cocoa Board challenges, blame the current management of Cocoa Board. They are the ones who changed the 70-30 rule. That is the bigger challenge that they have.
So we blame Dr. Randy Abe?
The people who are running it. I am not one who goes into personalization of issues and all of these things, but the people who are running the cocoa industry now, they are the people who made, all the people who are responsible for this switch from the forward sales to the spot sales. They are the ones responsible for the debacle you are having.
At the end of the day, the finance minister has a certain oversight responsibility. Is he overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed, I don't think so. I think he's trying to keep his books clean, and he's trying to use whatever methods that he thinks he can master to do that. I mean, on the currency, for example, he's agreed with the central bank that what they have to do is to do heavy intermediation. I've said it to you a number of times that in February, March, when we started seeing the numbers, and because we knew the data coming over, we started telling the people of Ghana that nothing has changed in the economy. What they are doing is intermediating. And they looked you and I in the face and told us it's not true. The governor said it, the president said it. Later, when the IMF told them, stop, and let's put in place a framework, and they stopped. The currency started depreciation. It went down to about 12. That's when the president admitted that the Bank of Ghana had stopped. Had stopped what? Something they were not doing. Then now, when the framework was put in place and they were compelled, now they announce every month 1 billion, 1 billion, 1 billion. That's how come you found out in 2025 that they intermediated about 10 billion. That's the method they've chosen to use. Today, we are now finding out that even 50% of our gold reserves has now been sold. And we are getting information that part of that is to fund the intermediation they are doing. So your gold reserves have been reduced by 50% because the method they have chosen to use, there are questions about their sustainability. Don't worry, forget even about the Galamsey gold that now they are gradually beginning to admit is becoming part of the equation. Forget about that. But even the gold reserves, 50% of it is gone. So the method, the finance minister, he wants to keep his books clean. So he's using whatever methods he can find. Inflation, sterilization, 60 billion. When we said it initially, they were arguing with us. Go to, I think page 284 or so of your budget. You see it there. It's there at the bottom. Sterilization, 62 billion. That's why people tell you that there's no money in town. So if I don't reduce my things, he's using methods to get the results that he wants to get. Take the budget. You take away some of the revenue handles so that you are happy and you applaud him. The problem is therefore that you are not getting the revenue you are looking for. And so you work for 11 months, you won't get paid. Your contractor, you are working, you are not getting paid. People are looking for jobs, they are not getting recruited because the revenue is not available. So they are using methods to get the numbers clean. They will tell you about Papa, but clap for us, the numbers are, but you are the one who lives it in your pocket. If that is good for you, that's fine. If you also realize that actually you are being hoodwinked, we can have a conversation.
Oh, let's take a break. When we return, we'll move away from government and all and take a look at your party. You finished your flag bearership. Your flag bearer race. Now your party has a flag bearer that you're expecting everybody to rally behind. We'll see the way forward for you after this break. Stay with us.
Playing for your country, easy. Scoring, easy. Winning, easy. You know what be easy now? Kibo 4-in-1 Gary mix. Aye easy. It gets everything inside. Gary, creamer, sugar, roasted groundnuts. Just add water. Sharp my soakings make ready. Taste and energy. Make easy. I'm a match winner. But the real champion is Kibo 4-in-1 Gary Mix. Champion taste.
Also available strawberry, coconut, and chocomore. This advert is FDA approved.
Gino Magic Pepper and Onion. A delicious tomato mix with tomato, pepper, and onion. No grinding, no blending. Ya yeni na da da da. So pa mediane no abe.
Come on, Gino. Do your magic.
And papa no kunu abefi.
Tasty magic.
And your daddy trying to kiss keke.
Gino Magic Pepper and Onion. The magic that brings them home.
This advert is FDA approved.
Imagine a sport without rules, a game without passion, an arena without chance. What drives the champions? What fuels the rivalry? What separates the winners from the rest in the world of sports?
Eugene Soti, your chief data guy on the Talking Point. On the African Tracker, I'll break down the performance of your favorite African players abroad, scrutinizing every detail and exploring the nuances and rules governing the game.
Meet us in your area for Area Take as we plug into sports perspective and hear your thoughts on every play of the game.
I'm James Makion, your go-to expert for everything local. I'll review the fixtures from the locker room to the pitch and from the management to the fans. I've got you covered.
Oh la la! Don't miss out on the double excitement. It's a fun pack, pulsating and complete wrap of everything in sports, from boxing to football, tennis, NBA and more. Sports World on ABC as every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Sports World on ABC. Sports beyond borders.
Welcome back to this ABC exclusive with me, Abuna Mante, and our conversation with Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, MP for Fuansi Ayubi. Honorable Nkrumah, I know we're going into the NPP, but quickly, you mentioned that on the floor of Parliament, you wanted some inquiry into the losses Gold Board had incurred. How far with that?
Mr. Speaker has admitted the motion, thankfully. My understanding is that perhaps on the 17th, that motion will be taken on the floor.
Okay.
It will give Parliament an opportunity to do a bipartisan inquiry under all the rules that matter, where you can compel the production of documents, you can subpoena witnesses, you can bring in experts.
Okay.
So nobody can come and do any shakara there. We'll have the rules, and then we can inquire. And this inquiry for me is for the purposes of trying to cure the ills that have come up on the program. The gold purchase program has been the bastion of our currency. Remember when it was introduced, when Dr. Baumia and the team led its introduction, they were clear that this is the answer we've been looking for about 60-something years. And if we manage it well, it will help become the backbone of currency stability in our country. The NDC came to power, and they changed the structure as part of the reset. So again, instead of buying the bulk from the large-scale miners, they are now buying the bulk from the small-scale miners, and that's where the loss is coming from. The artisanal and small-scale miners. Okay. That's where the loss is coming from. We want to be able to inquire, to learn lessons, make recommendations, so that we can cure this thing, and the program can serve its purpose.
Okay. Well, we look forward to that on the 17th, and then we'll be keenly following it. Now into the NPP, the New Patriotic Party. Dr. Baumia, overwhelming majority, and he's now being elected your flag bearer. Yeah. Your colleagues on the other side are quite happy that he's been elected, because for them, it's a very smooth ride for them. Every indication is showing at the moment that no matter who they bring and pitch against Dr. Baumia, their candidate will be the more superior candidate. Dr.
That's
Baumia,
not true, by the way.
Well?
It's not true. Musa Dankwa was the one who did that poll. I challenged him on PM Express the last time he came. First of all, that poll was dated, I think, December. Secondly, it's not the first time he has done a poll that says, as at today, this is what people are thinking. And he himself, as he goes along, he tells you that people have changed their minds. So it's not true, and let's not let this narrative settle that anybody the NDC brings.
So it doesn't bother you?
Even one election, Ayawasu is it East. 4 days, they are still discussing. They don't know who their candidate. We didn't have primaries. They've had primaries. They've had to sack an ambassador. They form committee. People are resigning from the committee.
Wasn't it a given that the ambassador will be recalled?
But I am not the one who said it. They tried to, again, hoodwink people by saying that the president has recalled the ambassador. As if the guy who's won the primaries, you will have to recall him because he's coming to run for parliament. But that's what they do. They hoodwink something. But I'm saying to you that if anybody walks around with the apprehension that whoever the NDC brings can beat Dr. Baumia, I'm telling you that one primaries, Ayawasu East primaries, 4 days, they are still discussing, forming committees and going. So their own issues, they will have to deal with their own issues. We are happy that the delegates of the party overwhelmingly have elected Dr. Baumia as our flag bearer for 2028. We don't think that that's the end of the set of challenges that we have to overcome. Okay. We have a lot of challenges to overcome. We are going to work towards reorganizing our party structure. We are making a lot of reforms. We have to work to win back the love and trust of the people of Ghana and present bold ideas for 2028 that now begin to show people that, not knowing these guys were just hoodwinking us. This is where the real deal is, so that we have a good fighting chance for 2028. And it's a long journey.
14 out of 16 regions, that's huge. One region everybody was looking at was the Ashanti region, to determine if your party is a bigoted party.
45 over 47.
Beyond that, it seems it settled that conversation within the NPP that it's untrue that the NPP is a bigoted party. And so for that, you're able to move on. Dr. Baumia talks about discipline in his acceptance speech on the night of the election. Yeah. He talked about discipline. Yeah. Is that what you're going to hinge your campaign from now up until 2028 on?
He talked about unity extensively, because it's important to mend the cracks and all of us work together. Because whenever the MPP is united, we have a strong fighting chance. So there's a lot of effort already going on behind the scenes at deepening unity. And then he talked about discipline as well. That, listen, the fact that we're trying to mend the cracks does not mean that anybody is going to be given an excuse to be perpetually misbehaving. And we will be perpetually trying to look for him in the exercise of unity. No, there will be a point where if you are not doing what the constitution of the party requires you to do, disciplinary action will be taken against you. I'm hoping that we don't have to get there, that all of us will come together. But I loved watching him that night. You could see that night he wasn't too excited, too happy.
He still kept that composure or that demeanor. Demeanor would be the best word that he had on the day you signed the peace pact.
I think it's because the weight of the responsibility on him is what he keeps thinking about. A fractured party did its best but lost power. It's now been put in his hands. When the chairman walked up and symbolically gave him that flag, that was a big deal. That the flag of the new patriotic party, one of the largest parties in this country, is now being handed to you, gentlemen. That responsibility must dawn on you. So if you didn't see him overly excited and jumping and dancing on stage, it's because he's processing all the work that needs to be done to heal this party, to turn things around, to win an election, and even to correct. If this government leaves you a $300 million loss in gold transactions alone, when you become president in 2029, it's part of your headache. If this government messes up payment of cocoa farmers and therefore is not able to get money to pay them and has to go and borrow, we are hearing about 10 billion to come and pay the cocoa farmers. When you become president in 2029, it's all part of your headache. So when you see Dr. Bawumia in a pensive mood with that demeanor, there's a lot on his mind.
Is Dr. Bawumia still livid, or is he livid about the kind of campaign that was mounted against him during the primaries or before the primaries?
He's not somebody who I know to hold grudges. He was unhappy about it. He expressed it in the confidence of key people who should hear about it. But he still came out that day and signed the peace pact. The party that did not caution or call out those who were engaging in all of those acts, yet called on him to come and sign the peace pact. He made them know what his displeasure was. But he came out and he did his duty as a very matured leader. It takes me back to the day he announced his candidature. He said, "Openi due mate mante." Sometimes you have to swallow the pain and other things and do, what is bigger for the society. It takes me back to the day when he made that concession speech after the loss of the 2024 election. You've got to rise up to the occasion, even though you may not be personally excited about it. So livid, no. He was displeased. He spoke about it. I know he's moved on. But now what I see a lot more about him is the weight of the responsibility ahead of him is, what very often you see him engaging in and asking about and thinking about.
You're rallying your whole party behind you. There are those who in the heat of the moment said that they did not think they belonged to the NPP anymore because you had elected somebody they did not think should be the flag bearer. Are you better off without persons who hold views like that, or you'd rather still work towards having them understand what it means to be a part of the NPP?
We will make every effort to bring everybody back home.
We make every effort to bring everybody back home. Well, this will not be the day we have all the conversation about the NPP and Dr. Bawumia. We look forward to a time when we can speak them more. We understand Dr. Bawumia has taken some break.
No. He was in Oxford briefly. He's back in town.
He's back.
And he's been receiving lots of, supporter groups who are coming to see him, even before he does the Thanksgiving service and then the thank you tour across.
And so when does he take a rest?
Well, it's a tough job. But I'm glad that God gives him strength to be able to do it.
Honorable Nkrumah, we thank you for your time today.
Abna, thank you for coming.
And we look forward to more conversation. ABC Special with me, Abna Manti, a conversation with the MP for Fuansi Ayuribi, Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. We will bring you more conversations as we go on. Thank you for joining us today.
Rent back with the beer open. Come on, come see you. Where this guy? My friend,
it's the Telestar Too Much Money promo. Win cash daily, weekly, and a grand prize of 1.2 million Ghana cedis. Just reload or buy a bundle with Telestar Cash to earn points and stand a chance to win big. Dial *500# or visit the Telestar Play app to obtain and start winning in the Telestar Too Much Money promo. Terms and conditions apply. This promo is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform.
When is campaign? If you're a baby, many schedule no. If you know, meto etiaka. Inti ene, uno ba no mpe baby amobeda. Oh, na abeka. Ye did too much money. No matter.
Telecel, connecting energy.